Good evening and welcome to my first video in quite some time. This video I'm going to deal with the concept of gay marriage and what the state or the government's role in this is, since I think the Supreme Court is going to take this up pretty soon. First of all, we need to understand that both parties are wrong on this, and in order to understand why, we need to understand the meaning of the First Amendment precisely. Now, a lot of conservatives want you to believe, and I'm a conservative by the way, but what many conservatives want us to believe is that the First Amendment only means that the federal government cannot establish a national religion. Well, if that's what it really meant, then it would be very weak, but it actually means something much stronger than that. A lot of us think of the concept of the separation of church and state. And where that came from is Jefferson actually wrote a letter to the Danbury Baptist Association in which he quoted the First Amendment and then wrote, thus erecting a wall of separation between church and state. Now, to understand what it means even more exactly than that, we need to consider what James Madison said about the role of religion in government. In his address to the Virginia Assembly, entitled A Memorial and Remonstrance Against Religious Assessments, Madison wrote and said literally that religion is wholly exempt from the cognizance of the institution of civil society. Now, when you understand that in the context of this gay marriage issue, it starts to become more clear. First, you need to understand that marriage is a pretend union. It is make-believe. Two people do not actually become one. It's a cultural, traditional practice that only makes sense within a religious context. And it only has value to those who respect that particular expression of culture. Now, we understand now that the Constitution forbids laws that respect establishments of religion. So technically, all marriages should be viewed as business arrangements or civil unions from the point of view of government. Having the government sanction marriage is a lot like requiring a junior high school principal to issue certificates of going steady or something along that line. So you have to understand, the government is not supposed to be able to cognize this concept of a make-believe union. Now, the flip side of this is that marriage is a tradition that reflects an intrinsic value. There is something special, no doubt, in the human experience of a man and a woman having children and raising them together, or at least responsibly. There's nothing wrong with appreciating and promoting that culture, but you can't legislate it. You can't force people to view the world the way you'd prefer they view it, any more than Obama should be able to force us to view the world in the way that he sees it. What conservatives who respect the marriage tradition should do is realize that a greater freedom will lead to the proliferation of traditions that have intrinsic value. That's the American way, rather than succumbing to the idea that government is a tool for societal tinkering. It makes many conservatives sound like liberals, and by that I mean morally condescending and ready to play loose with the Constitution, it's ironically the very anti-conservative characteristic that has young people considering the idiocy of liberalism in the voting booth. The breakdown of the American family is not a cause, it's an effect. A lack of freedom is the cause, including the immoral practice of public education, for example, among other tribal experiments, and we'll get to that in another video. But to summarize, millions of people, mostly young people, hate conservatism for what it is not. And that is a condition that these Marxists need for their survival. We would do well to take this issue away from the leftists, adhere to the Constitution, make all unions civil, and practice our traditions privately, knowing that freedom will produce more of what we value and would weaken the foundation, our money, under those who seek to destroy liberty. That's conservatism. Thank you.